Hello, live from Cleveland, Ohio here. Chaim Barchalevsky. We're in Cleveland for a couple days. This is not Central Park, but we're doing the best we can. So, are you objective? Can one be objective? And what happens if you accept a bribe or unknowingly get a bribe from someone? Can you be objective after that? That and some more is what we'll explore today in the next 5 to 7 minutes. So, recently, a friend of mine posed a sort of a dilemma. It's a great dilemma to have. He said that he has a limited amount, unlimited, God willing, but for now a specific amount of funds allocated for tzedakah, for charitable purposes, and is interested in sending some of it our way. And the dilemma was that he recently also had committed to other people to help them with their fundraising, with their Chabad programming. And he wanted to know if what he originally intended to help with the others, if now he wants to change it and give it to our Chabad family programs, is that okay? Or whatever he originally intended to give them, he should stick with it and we'll get less. And he wanted to know my honest opinion. So what would you say about that? Good question, right? So my main response was, this is a question that I truly cannot answer objectively, because I am what the Torah calls a nogea badavar. I am related to the idea. I have a vested interest in this matter. So if you want a true answer, you have to ask somebody else. If you want to know what I'd like, I could tell you what I'd like. And that's the way the conversation went. And it reminded me, this week's Torah portion, a talk from the Rebbe, reminded me of this conversation we had. In Parshas Pinchas, so we have this interesting situation where the discussion is about distributing the land of Israel to the tribes, to the Shvatim. And the way God proposed it in the Torah, he instructed in the Torah, is that the male members of the family, a plot of land was allocated to the male members of the family. Now, there was this group of 5 sisters, the daughters of Tzlafchad, who had no brother. And they posed this question to Moshe Rabbeinu. And they said, Moshe, we have no brother. Lama Yigara, or why should we be left out from this allocation of land? And we'd like to have a portion of land too. So they posed this to Moshe, right? Not to me and not to you. Moshe Rabbeinu. Who was Moshe? He was the transmitter of the whole Torah. Moshe knew the Torah. He knew the laws as well as anybody could. Moshe could have answered the question, and Moshe also knew, says the Rebbe, the obligation for someone to answer a question if they know the answer. If somebody asks for your assistance in a Torah item, in a Torah matter, and you know the answer, you're able to help them, you have an obligation, it's your duty to help them. Moshe knew the answer, and he could have helped them, but he didn't. Instead, without batting an eyelash, Moshe referred their question to God. He said, God, what should I do in this case? And the Rebbe asks, why? And many biblical commentators ask, why? Why didn't Moshe just answer the question as he knew to answer? And assuming that it wasn't such a difficult answer, Moshe did know the response. Says the Rebbe, and he's quoting various other biblical commentators. He says that in the way they phrased their question, these daughters of Tzlafchad, these 5 sisters, they phrased their question. They said, our father died, and he died for some other reason unrelated to the rebellion that Korach and his followers had against Moshe. He wasn't related to the rebellion. Yes, I am. The University Heights Beechwood. You got it, man. This is the Board of Education right over here. Anyway, get back to the story here. So Moshe, these girls are saying, our father died, and he wasn't part of this rebellion that was against Moshe. He wasn't part of the 250 members or of that whole story, which happened in a few parshas before previous Torah portions in Parshas Korach. So, well, hearing that, Moshe knew instinctively that he could not judge and answer this question objectively. And the Rebbe talks about this, and he's emphasizing, look at this, it's almost unbelievable. Moshe Rabbeinu, the greatest of the great, knows all the laws. He knows what the law is. There's no question in his mind what the law is. These people are coming to pose a question that he could answer, but he won't answer because they insinuated in some way, they hinted that 39 years prior, the Rebbe repeated this, 39 years ago, there was a rebellion, an argument, a dispute, and their father was not part of that dispute. That's it. And because they said that, Moshe already assumed that he couldn't be truly objective in responding, in giving this answer. So the Rebbe talks about this in context of our situations that we have in our life, whether it's between man to man or man to God. But he says, so the person can never really trust themselves when there's any trace, a glimmer of a trace of some kind of benefit to themselves in a matter. And therefore, like Moshe asked God, the Rebbe quoted the Mishnah. There's a Mishnah, Aseh lecha rav. Make for yourself a teacher, a master. Force yourself to assume, to acquire a leader, not necessarily a leader in all your matters, but someone to ask who can help through your labyrinth of subjectivity. Someone who can guide you in a question. If there's any matter that you know that you have a dispute with another person, don't trust yourself, says the Rebbe, based on the story, or in your matters between man and God. Are you observing in a way that you should when there's some other way that might cause you some pain or some deficit or some loss? Ask an objective outsider what they think. Because even Moshe Rabbeinu didn't trust himself in his own objectivity when he was bribed. Now this bribe wasn't money, and it wasn't an item, and it wasn't now, it wasn't current. It was something that happened 39 years ago. And it was just a mention of, he wasn't part of this argument. So the Rebbe says, how much more so if there's any not true, but current, visible, noticeable benefit to you, then you cannot be objective. That's the story for today. It does say it's in the Torah, it says, do not take except bribery, because bribery will twist, will blind, will blind the eyes of the wise. V'salif divrei tzadikim and it'll skew the words of the righteous. So no matter who we are and where we are, we can find ways to apply this idea of finding an outside help. A Rav, aseh lecha Rav. Find someone else who can help guide you in matters of holiness. God bless you. Take care. Hi. Nutcase. It's University Heights. God bless you all.